Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game SO. Today we're going to continue the series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and I got a very fun, very bonus, and very exciting episode for you guys this Sunday morning. Because if you can't tell already, we're playing Jet Force Gemini, and this was one of the games that we had stated does not work on the core due to a freezing issue. You could barely ever get out of the test menu. And if you can't tell already, we're definitely getting a lot further into that, and considering we just finished up with getting Conker's Bad Fur Day playable on the core, this is an extra bonus feature for you guys this weekend. Ruleset went in and took a look at Jet Force Gemini and posted a patch a few hours ago on the MiSTer FPGA Discord. We've all been testing it, and at least through the tests we've done so far, it's 100% freeze free. That doesn't mean that there might not be a freeze later in the game, but he's going to continue to monitor all the test results and continue to patch the game in case it needs it. So now is the time to start testing Jet Force Gemini, and I'll go over in just a moment exactly how this patch was achieved. But this takes the playable list up one game and the non-playable list down a game, because we already got Conker's Bad Fur Day working as of this week, and now we get to add Jet Force Gemini to the mix. And as aside from the patch, I've always thought that is just a bootleg gremlin from the Gremlins franchise. But it's awesome to add another game to the playable list for the Nintendo 64 core, leaving just Resident Evil 2 Claire's campaign as occasionally freezing, and the Battle for Naboo as something that freezes consistently. No guarantees it will ever be looked at. This is down to interest, of course. And it's just been an awesome week for MiSTer FPGA and Nintendo 64. Conker's Bad Fur Day first, and people have finished it from start to finish, including myself, confirming it does work. And now Jet Force Gemini. Now how this was done is there's an RSP or reality signal processor timing check that the game will use on real hardware. It's kind of almost a security feature, and this was a very long time ago patched out for flash drives, and we tried that patch on the core, but apparently something about the patch must have been too old or not perfectly in line with what the MiSTer FPGA code needed, because it would not get past the test menu in the beginning of the game. It's just one of those things. The patch was probably made 15 years or so ago when flash carts and copies started coming online for the Nintendo 64, that it was probably just slightly out of alignment for what the FPGA core needed. So Ruleset went in, removed that RSP check completely, and then the game just started booting and playing as normal. And that's not at all surprising. Rare did a lot of things on the security side of their Nintendo 64 games, especially later in the life cycle, and obviously Jet Force Gemini is one of the later games on the system. So this seems to have basically made the game 100% playable, and I know a lot of you, based on the comments, are going to be very excited about that. I was way more excited for Conker's Bad Fur Day than Jet Force Gemini, but as I played for this capture, I again started getting interested in the game, and I'm definitely going to give it a full playthrough. But you'll see here, this was maybe the spot that you could sometimes, if you were lucky, get in the previous iteration of trying this game out. Maybe you'd get 15 to 20 seconds of gameplay, and then the game would freeze and crash on you. And I just started looking at this on the crash handler because it was something I was going to research after July 4th, just like I did for Conker's Bad Fur Day, but Ruleset saved myself and everyone else a metric crap ton of time by figuring this out. It actually ended up being an elegantly simple fix just by removing one check. And that is the fun part about stuff like this. I've done it on the Konami arcade side of things, dealing with the security, and Rare does fun things as well. And I'm sure with a little bit of his knowledge from the Conker's Bad Fur Day patch, you can kind of understand what Rare may have been thinking when they were dealing with Jet Force Gemini, because very often developers will use similar techniques here and there. But as you can see in the gameplay front, this is absolute perfection. I am playing this on the standard core, not the turbo core, but it should do the exact same thing on the turbo core as well if you want to use that. But graphically, everything else is working like the game should. Now you can actually just get into the game and play, and it's also a testament to just how good FPGA Zoomspace's Nintendo 64 core was, because this game was ready to work just like real hardware once that one check was removed. And when I said the audio quality is outstanding as well, I 100% mean it. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back, tell you more about the game and the few games that still don't work. But enjoy. Sounds exactly like JetForce Gemini should, looks exactly like JetForce Gemini should, and plays exactly like JetForce Gemini should. And you try saying that 3 times fast, it is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But this is just another incredible development. It's so much fun to watch all of this stuff unfold. All the research I did on Conker's Bad Fur Day, going through the crash handler, getting different people to submit different crashes to kind of collaborate and corroborate what might be going on. And then RuleSet pops up randomly with a patch for JetForce Gemini on the weekend, and everyone is just absolutely excited for that. There's so many fun people doing so many fun things in the world of MiSTer FPGA, and of course you all get to reap the benefits of stuff such as that. Because I get it, some people love JetForce Gemini, some people weren't as excited about this than Conker, but if you are a fan of this game and you have MiSTer FPGA, now is the time to play it. But I would be curious, leave me a comment down below, tell me, did you play JetForce Gemini back in the day or not? I did, and I found it very fun, except for a little bit of the rare collectathon nature. But now that it is available to play on MiSTer FPGA, I'm compelled to try to beat it for the testing. And if you do have any freezes whatsoever while playing this game, the anticipation is you shouldn't. But if you do, leave me a comment down below if you're not on the MiSTer FPGA Discord, and I'll copy and paste it over. And if you are, definitely make sure you talk about it on the Nintendo 64 channel. But as far as me playing this game for this video, I had absolutely no issues whatsoever doing anything in the game at all. Saving, going back and forth between areas, everything on the start and pause menu just 100% worked. So it's really funny, one check basically seemed to be what was keeping everything running, and that was just the RSP timing check. But that's the interesting thing about hardware and security systems. Sometimes it's expecting a call and response in a certain set period of time, and if that timing is not right, it will cease to function. And that just seems to be what they did with JetForce Gemini. But as we walk around the game, again, you have to realize how good of a job FPGA Zoom Spots did with this core. It was ready to play JetForce Gemini, which is hanging up at one single spot, one single check, and now that that has been bypassed completely, this game seems to be one-to-one with real Nintendo 64 hardware. And if you don't have your Nintendo 64 modified, this would be even better because you get that clean HDMI out, and that's always a fun time. And this was definitely a graphically impressive game for the Nintendo 64 back in the day. Almost feels like something that could have been held back for a GameCube launch game, but ended up going way late into the Nintendo 64 launch cycle. And you'll see here we're going to complete the first area, we're going to get the results screen, and everything is going to load into the next area just like you would expect. So as far as the performance on this new patch version of the game, there is absolutely nothing so far that anyone has detected that would make me think you can do anything other than play the game and watch the credits scroll. All of the different explosions, effects, things that could generally end up freezing the Conker core before we had the patch do not do anything here whatsoever, so you should be 100% golden. That leaves just Resident Evil 2 Claire's campaign for a few people. I have played it start to finish with no freezing, there was no big issue there, and Battle for Naboo as the two games that do still have freezing, and one Mahjong game that I think no one even realizes exists for the Nintendo 64. Even the intro cutscenes and everything work 100%. And this is just an awesome revelation. We are 2 games away from a complete Nintendo 64 set working on the MiSTer FPGA core. So it seems like these slight incompatibilities when FPGA Zoom Spots finish the core can be 100% taken care of via patches. And I am so glad that the JetForce Gemini patch is here, because I was going to start spending dozens upon dozens of hours going through the crash handler and trying to understand exactly why this was crashing, and now I don't need to do any of that whatsoever. And I love this robot doc here with the gun on his back, an absolutely hilarious design. And that's the thing about JetForce Gemini, it's got a lot of charm, it's got a lot of personality. I'm never quite sure if I'm 100% in love with the art style, but I'm 100% happy that now everyone can play it and enjoy it on the Nintendo 64 core, because so many of you left comments on the Conker's Bad Fur Day video saying you hoped JetForce Gemini would be next. Well, apparently that next meant 4 days until you could play the game. Now to get this patch, just head over to the MiSTer FPGA Discords and pop into the Nintendo 64 channel. It should be pinned on the pins right now, but if you ask anybody in there, and don't forget if you've never been there, ask nicely because I sent you, anyone will be happy to help you find that patch, and you can just use an online BPS patcher to get the game running. But happy Sunday, JetForce Gemini is here on Nintendo 64, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.